Yeah, so I met Sam and Luna at the Global Eco Village Network conference in Ängsbacka, Sweden, summer 2024. And like at that point, I had just quit my job as a teacher in Switzerland because of this feeling of like, I can't keep participating in this system. This just isn't gonna work for me. And yeah, so I met them there, and what really drew me to the project was this kind of like integration between regeneration and like blockchain technology, tech, like creating win-win-win scenarios for like Earth, humans, communities. But at that time I was living on a farm in like outside of Gothenburg. Yeah, really enjoying that, so it wasn't the right moment to come immediately. But then in February of this year, so 2025 February, yeah, I needed to switch things up, so I messaged Sam. I was like, hey, can I come? And so I came first as a volunteer for 2 weeks, and then I did like the 3-month stewardship program, land stewardship program, and then, yeah, took over, yeah, the mushroom farm kind of project management, and have been working on that ever since. And yeah, so through November, then we'll have the mushroom farm, and now it's just feeling more and more like a place that I'm choosing to stay in. Yeah.
How was like the kind of first few steps into this place?
Like, what do you mean? Like, how was the experience, or what was my inner process before getting here, or?
Like when you came here, what aligned with your values? What was the process to make yourself feel comfortable here? What led you to choose to stay longer?
I think like in my life, I've been pretty semi-nomadic, so haven't stayed anywhere more than 2 years. And I feel like I've had this like searching attitude of like in my early 20s looking for communities and like looking for places that I enjoyed doing the work, and just kind of not really finding my people or my place. And so I think about a year ago, I just decided like maybe searching isn't the answer, and maybe just like an attitude of finding. Like I choose something, like I choose to find what I'm looking for rather than to keep looking for it. And so I think that was like the inner shift that happened for me, because I've lived in many communities, I've visited many projects, and it was always like, oh no, next, gonna keep going. And so I think this time it was just that kind of inner recognition that I want to have the experience of choosing and finding things that work for me. So I think that was what enabled me to start the process of grounding deeper into here, into this project. I think what really resonates me with TDF right now is that it's in such a building phase. So there's so many opportunities to step in, and like the learning curve is just like exponential. You're just like getting into new things all the time. The people that come through here, I feel really comfortable in networks, systems that are networks. And so in that way, like I just get to be here and be like in a resting, grounded place, and still have the transience of like really interesting, new, cool projects, people, artists, creators coming through. So that aspect really resonated for me as far as community. And I think like what allowed me to commit more deeply to TDF is the fact that it's meant to be a little bit nomadic and transient. That really works for me, of like not feeling like I have to stay here for ever, but that the choice can be full for now.
Can you try and like pick a position that's comfortable for you and try to stay there?
Okay, yes.
It's a nice frame.
Okay, I'm fucking up your frame by moving.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just want to find something that you feel good in, and we can stay in it.
Okay, that's gonna be hard. I definitely feel like I'm a mover.
You can just know that this is the good one, and you can like move and come back to it.
Okay.
So what do you think was the process between like moving between communities and deciding to stay here? Did this place align in a different way for you, or was this an inner process that you went through?
Right, so like the inner process for sure was step one, and the outer process was definitely also an alignment. Like I said, like being able to be a land-based nomad is what I was looking for. And so having the kind of community that's built in this way where we all steward the land long term and always have like those commons to return to even as we move, that was like a core piece that really aligned for me. And then, yeah, just also these kind of burner values and principles where radical self-reliance, like immediacy, radical inclusion, things like that, really also resonates. So that was another piece. I think we like to have fun here too. Like we like to work hard and we're doing the thing and we're living to build a vision, but we're also having fun. So that piece is also important to me of like, as well as having the deep spaces for process. There's a lot of cool individuals that come through here that hold different spaces of depth. So I feel like there's the depth and the playfulness. Yeah, and I think for me, the tech blockchain thing really was like, okay, this is gonna work. Because I just feel like I've been in so many communities that have fallen apart too. And just seen a lot of those be because of governance issues, and maybe this version of using blockchain and making it more nomadic solves some of those issues. I don't know, because maybe less ownership starts to happen when it's a commons and it's transient. I think it's to be seen, but I think that piece is particularly like unique, and for me gives it an edge that could lean towards it working out, also like financially. Yeah. So.
What happened in the other two communities you've been part of that made them collapse?
Actually, the communities that I've been a part of still exist. I grew up in a community, and both of the communities that I still know are continuing, have like deep spiritual roots. So that is a uniting force, and that's something that I kind of grew up hearing. It's like most community fails. Like you need to have some like uniting piece around self-growth, inner growth, like willingness to grow together for it to work. Yeah, so I've just seen other projects, I wasn't part of those communities, fall apart. I have a lot of good friends who are community builders, and just through like interpersonal disagreements, it just crumbles, people leave. Usually it ends up being like the people that financed it are the ones left with the land. Yeah, so I hope that this turns out in a different way. And I think that some of these decentralized models could really support that. I think as long as we keep doing the inner work of like conflict resolution, having hard conversations, transparency, vulnerability, that we can, yeah, with the systems that we have in place to support decision-making and governance protocols and this sort of like shifting our mindset around ownership, I think I think it can work.
And I wonder if you can speak a little bit about between the place you grew up in and the different communities you visited. What was the common difficulties that drew people apart, and what was also the common or uncommon ways that you've seen that bring people together in a very good way?
I think how people are treated is probably the biggest reason why feelings get hurt and things get crumbled apart. Like when leaders maybe, start getting into like power dynamics, and like drop the, like when there's lack of humility in leadership and like true willingness to connect and value the people. I think I know that like for my parents, for example, like having these sort of conflicts with a leader where people aren't recognized for their what they're bringing or their skills or their ideas, and just, decisions are just being made, for example, then people lose interest and they leave. So I've seen, I think a lot of it has to do with the leadership and how decisions are made and people are made to feel. I mean, it's just like any relationship, like people remember how you made them feel. And so, that's the ways that I've seen big breaks in communities of like not recognizing value and not like pouring into, building connections. And then was the other question around what things have made them succeed? Or I don't...
What did you see?
That
either is special or common between these places that really brings people together?
Okay, something that brings people together. honestly, like I've seen like some sort of spiritual practice. Like I've been in a lot of spiritual communities and I've seen that like that creates a unifying force, whatever those practices are, that just kind of self-selects the types of people that are interested in the same things on like a really deep core value place. I've seen that work really well in multiple communities. I get really curious, especially with like the land regeneration movement, if that can serve as the uniting force of like, we're committed to like improving the lands that we live on and tending them. And I wonder what other elements might need to be added to that of like recognition of the sacred. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that of like where those things meet. Yeah. So I've seen that be really successful.
Any rituals or practices, like specific, that you saw that were very special and made you inspired by the place?
I think that's a hard question for me to answer because I like grew up in this field where like everybody has a meditation practice. And so it created also like an inner rebellion in me that I've had to struggle with in different ways, where kind of having to pick through what I felt like could be indoctrination, what was true for me. And so in that way, it's had me actually lean away sometimes from those practices because I feel like, then they get sticky or old or stale. So I think that's like on a personal level, that's like my struggle with relating to these things. But I think that ritual can also be simple. It can be in the daily moments of like gathering before food. I think I really appreciate how Luna brings that into TDF. Like simple rituals that are just around like, let's just be grateful for like what we've done this week. Let's just gather around this meal. And so for me, that really works, of like simple rituals that still like are a point of coming together, meals, eating together. I think what I noticed being in this climate is that like land-based rituals that I participate in, being more from northern climates, like mushroom harvesting during this season, I think things like that can be really uniting of like, I think building and creating together is a super uniting force. I see that here, that like, because we're in this phase of like building and creating, we've all got each other, and it's super cool to feel like you've got me, I've got you, I can trust your decisions. Yeah, so that was kind of a mix of two questions. Yeah.
Is there something that you felt you needed to change or go personally to really drop into this place?
Yeah, I think that like the beginning of this year, like January through May, were like really rough months for me. It was like I'd gone through some big personal shifts recently, was having some like friendship things, and just I had like huge insecurity come up for like many, many months. And that was like a really strange experience for me because I have grown up feeling naturally quite comfortable in myself, and like just confidence has never been a struggle. Like it's just, yeah, it's easeful to be myself mostly. And so I was really confronted with this like insecurity that I couldn't really find the source with. It felt like it was coming from deeper like nervous system, previous things, but it was really kind of unleashed here by some certain events that happened. Where, yeah, that was just a big thing for me for a while. And I feel like moving through that and then purchasing the caravan to like live here and choosing that deciding to choose a place like shifted all of it and had like my life and TDF reflect back a choosing of me. Like there was almost this like maybe a struggle with worthiness, and as soon as I popped through with like, okay, I'm choosing, I'm in the chooser mindset, then it was then reflected and mutual. And so in that way, like that was a big initiation for me. Yeah.
And what does choosing means for you?
It means not like going into the fantasies of like the pasture's greener somewhere else. Like this could be better, or let me just keep looking for something that's more perfect. And recognizing that like if there's a moment in the future that it seems clear to me that another option is more perfect, then I will choose that. But I'm not going to fantasize and look for it and yearn for it because this is great now. And so I think it's, just this really dropping into the presence of choosing, the energetics of choosing, which could in a future present moment could completely shift to choosing something else. But it's this quality that to me just feels like a rested, settled, like choosing to belong, choosing to be here. Knowing that I can change that choice in the future, but not needing to worry about that now.
And maybe you can reflect a little bit about this culture, society, people around our age group, and how do you see this ability or inability to choose affecting people and also this movement and these projects?
Interesting question. I think like in this day and age with so many fucking choices, like a lot of us have quite some privilege around, financial freedom, location freedom, time freedom. Like a lot of these people through different routes are solving these issues, but it just makes the choices so many that it becomes overwhelming. And so then it's like, there's always this like fear of missing out, and like I'm here and like maybe it would be better there, or like maybe this relationship is good, but maybe there's something better. And this like, feels sort of like agitated, like searching, like where is the thing? And so I sense that a lot in our age range, are the people. At the same time, like I do feel like there's a nomadic vein in some of us that is just like that movement and transition is part of actually what makes us feel at home. So I don't know how that plays into it, but I think there's so many people with this vision and this like fantasy, but unable to make a different choice than like the status quo, like costs the movement. And I know like I have a lot of friends who this is their dream, and I'm kind of like, let's go, like let's do it. But I think there's so much more behind that decision, like the inner work that you have to do to like dismantle the conditioning that you have around what it means to be successful, not only what it means to be successful, but like how to get there. So there's so many layers that you have to kind of go through to then actually be able to choose. So like not everybody has that privilege of being able to do all that inner work also. This is what I spent my 20s doing. So I feel like I have been able to like go through those layers to then be able to be like, I'm in, like there is no other reality that I wish to be building. But like, for example, we could use more people here that are fully choosing this to just like add skills and vitality to the mix, because it's a lot. There's so many things to do. And if there's only like 5 or 6 people that are fully choosing that, like it's just going to take a while. So, I hope to see our generation being able to choose more like with a full yes, because I think that's also important, is like finding that yes and like going for it, because I think then like more energy is accessible to you to like see it through also.
And what do you think that places like this and the people who are managing these places or are leaders in these places can do to let's say make people more aligned or comfortable or certain about dropping in and committing to a project like this?
I think it always comes down to relationships. Like, people have to feel seen and valued. I know that that's not all, but I think that's a starting place, that like someone who might be on the edge of choosing something like this, if they then are not feeling seen and valued, they're probably not going to stay. But if they are, then that might be the thing that tips them to wanting to commit. Because in the end, I think like people are just going to be ready for what they're ready for when they're ready for it. Like there's not really, like, I don't know about influencing that so much, rather like creating a ripe environment for a person to like make that last 1% shift into.
Yeah, that's the question. Actually.
Yeah.
How to make this environment.
Yeah, making people feel seen and valued, and making them feel like giving them like the feeling of ownership, and like truly like you value and what you're doing matters, and like I trust you. Like, take this and let's work together, but like here. Which I know is also a delicate balance from the leaders or like the executive team or whoever to make those choices, because maybe they've been burned by making that choice before, and then the person doesn't show up and they flake out and it's like, fuck. Yeah, and so I see both sides of these things, that it's always a delicate process, but I think at the core, people feeling seen, trusted, loved, valued, like that's what creates a relationship, which is what creates community. Yeah.
Thank you. How do you practice conflict in this place?
Conflict resolution.
Like, what's your approach when something happens?
Personal or on a community level?
Both?
Yeah. I think maybe like for me, a step one is going to be like, if it's a conflict that I don't feel able to just confront on my own, maybe finding an ally to like speak to about, and maybe creating a collective conversation to make sure that like, yeah, everybody's seen and heard and witnessed, and maybe to create less misunderstanding. That would be a first step for me, and that's worked every time so far in community. Or just like having a direct conversation of like, hey, like I'm noticing this, that's not working for me. I think things that we do in the community as a whole are also preventative. We try to create as many spaces for connection and sharing throughout the week of check-ins, and we're building more of these structures for people like volunteers or residents that might be more short-term, of like formalizing kind of how we take feedback and how we give feedback and how that happens regularly, just so that like we're all on the same page. So it's not like at the end of someone's time that there's a huge misunderstanding of what should have taken place. So I think we're becoming more and more aware of that, creating connection circles, sharing circles. When we feel things are alive, we'll call a group for that. So I think a lot of it comes down to responding in immediacy to things that could feel uncomfortable. And I think that's something that Luna and I have talked a lot about, of like, we need to trust our intuition. If something's feeling weird or off, let's just like bring it into the whole and like iron it out before it gets to phases that then, yeah, require a lot more repair work.
Can you give me an example of something that happened communally, and how did you deal with it?
So I'm just like, I'm thinking about confidentiality right now, and just like how to share with you in a way that covers the topic, but like is yeah. Okay. So the question was conflict that's arisen and how we've dealt with it. Yeah, I mean, we had a conflict arise recently where there was an outbreak scenario. It wasn't really a conflict, but it was like an emotional thing that affected several of the volunteers who were here. And so there was just like, we brought a lot of tenderness to that, of like caring for all the different parts that in the dynamic the person had left. And but just like following through with things and making sure that everyone was okay. And we had multiple meetings, especially with these volunteers that were impacted, to just like, yeah, what do you need? How can we support you? So just like meeting them with the spaciousness to express and like go through and process what needed to move through them, and yeah, offer them any of the things that could support them, from like where they're staying to what's being asked of them to, yeah, just like how can we accommodate. So that wasn't so much like a interpersonal conflict. It was just like an intense thing that happened that needed tending to and care, or people could have maybe felt hurt or scared or these kinds of things. And yeah.
And how did this affect trust you have for this container?
I think it both showed the weaknesses and showed the willingness to meet these challenges. So I think for us, it was also a process of seeing like, okay, what other systems do we need in place to make sure there's support available immediately to whoever, like maybe a list of phone numbers, for example. So like some protocol things that we could improve structurally on our side to support people. So that was one thing that was great that came out of this, is just like revealing some gaps in our processes. So that gave us that opportunity. But it really also shows me how well resourced we are as a community, because we knew who to call. Like once we were informed, we knew how to deal with the situation. So it's like we have a lot of really talented, really great humans part of our community. So there's a lot of resources that we can tap into if we need, for like mediation, for example, or like psychology, or, you know, any of these kinds of experts. We would have those people. So, yeah, and then I think just the willingness of the community to show up for the process that felt scary, maybe felt super tender, maybe felt like really vulnerable, that the community really, yeah, shows up for those things.
What kind of connection do you have with the surrounding area or the neighbors here?
Yeah, so that's something that I intend to continue building. Like, I think the main issue right now is the language. So we've started like collective Portuguese lessons here. So right now the relationship is like, could use improvement. There's a woman.
What is the challenge?
Language. The language, like there's a woman who, I think she was the daughter of the man who owned this place, Maria Fernanda, and she comes up here and like will ask for help, like or she'll bring us gifts or like eggs or, you know, plants from her garden, or like recently she asked if someone could come and help her move this table from her attic. So two of us like went down there and like helped her, and she was so cute, just like chatting, and I understand a bit of Portuguese because I speak Spanish, but like it's hard for her to connect to me when I can't respond. But like afterwards she came up and had like made us some bracelets, and like she'll be coming to the art fair. So we definitely we're trying to build these relationships more. There's also someone in the village that works here every now and then, and he'll like come through sometimes on a Friday night with his cousin to like have a beer and like say what's up. So we also, like if we have like gatherings and parties, we'll invite the people that we're connected to locally. I think one of the relationships I'm really interested in building up is with the school. So like we have 2 kids that live here, and I would love to like take them for a morning or something, bring them to the school, maybe offer English lessons, and just like, yeah, start building the relationship with the kids. And I just know that I need a little bit more Portuguese before I go down that road. But the boys here speak Portuguese, so I was like, maybe we can, also be really great for their education, for just integrating into other systems with children. And yeah, so I think that for me is the next step of like connecting with the teachers and the students, and like getting my Portuguese to a level where then I can just like go and hang out with the people and like have a coffee and have a chat. This is like a lot of the work that I did in Panama, was chatting with people on their porches, having a coffee. So
yeah, that's really important.
Yeah.
If someone is like one step behind you in this process,
Is one step behind? Yeah.
in this process of like, either the searching or the just like anchoring in a project, or trying to decide if to kind of step in or not, what advice would you give them?
I guess I can only give advice to someone who's one step behind me and operates in the way that I do, because I don't know that it would be true for everybody. But I, like in my life, have found it really important to like follow the impulses. That like if the impulse is there, it's better for me to follow that and go down that thread than not. So I would say like if you're feeling an impulse, like follow it, like go try it out, like go do the thing. Because if it's staying in like an idea phase, this is like you'll never have like the actual experiential data of like, does this work or not, or what needs to be different or why not, or any of those questions aren't even possible if you don't just jump in. So like I guess someone who would be one step behind me might be on the edge. And so it's like, go for it. It's like, yeah, just choose one. Just work on that energetic of choosing, and then through that, like that will just lead you where you need to go. So maybe you choose this for now, and then 3 months later you recognize that actually a more aligned choice might be this other project, and then go there. Like, yeah.
What do you wish more people understood about community life?
I guess I don't really know what the misunderstandings are. I think maybe one misunderstanding that I see happening around sustainability, this whole like back to land movement, is people like take on a homestead alone, not realizing that like now you don't have a 9 to 5, you have like a tending things all fucking day. That I don't know, that just like it makes it so much easier together. That like, yeah, we put more work into relationships and things like that. So that can be hard and feel like a lot. It also gives a lot of joy, but like that sustainability actually isn't an individual thing. That like sustainability and like moving towards, like not destroying the earth actually requires a collective effort, and the impact that you can have is so much bigger. And actually like we're meant to live in community. Like we just forgot how, so we just have to like remember. And I think a lot of that work is this inner growth piece of like going through our layers of misperception that have been, like that we've been indoctrinated with. And like, that at the end of the day, like relationship, like family, friends, your network, your people. That we're like, it's like, so we're not meant to live isolated, and like the issues that are coming up because of the way that we're living. So that it's actually like, it's more natural. We just have to move all the things that are unnatural that we've learned. So that it's what's necessary for us to like create a truly sustainable like future collectively.
Is there anything I didn't ask and you feel want to?
I think like one of the biggest questions that comes up in these in these circles is around financing. Like so many people have the dream, And I think this is what blocks a lot of people, actually, that it's like, we have this dream, we have a crew of homies, like we all want to buy the land together, but no one has any fucking money or like remote jobs to be able to like make that happen. So that's where people get stuck. And I think that that's the whole trap, because it's like, well, and this is something that happened for me like 5 years ago. I had this whole mindset around like, I need to somehow make the money to make this happen. And then at one point I was like, maybe that's not my role in this. And my role is to trust my impulse that this is how I want to live. And then you find the people that have the project already started, that want to invest money, that like angel investor, that there's so much money and like possibility out there. But if we're not open to that reality, like that's not going to come into contact with us. So it's like, there really are a lot of cool projects. There really is enough money also circulating, but it's a matter of getting out there and like starting to connect the threads. And without taking that step, then it's always going to be this money block of like, oh, we don't have the money to buy the land. And that's also this whole ownership mindset of like, yeah, but it doesn't have to be individual. It can be collective and pooling and other ways of getting that together. And other systems that maybe aren't like dollar currency, that maybe have more to do with like blockchain things, or there's so many possibilities that if we're open to creatively solving that, we can. But so many of us are still stuck under scarcity, that it's hard to even see that that's a possibility, and then getting access to that. So yeah, I would say like if someone's really wanting to make this step and money feels like the issue, like solve that for yourself for some amount of time, and then like go after it so that you feel safety, but also so that you can start contributing and meeting the people and the projects and finding your way, because I'm sure the way exists if you just start following it. So, yeah.
Thank you. I just forgot to start with it for the interview. If you can tell me your full name and where are we sitting right now? Okay,
yeah. So I'm Tonya Gorman. We're sitting in Portugal at the traditional Dream Factory, regenerative village building project here in Alentejo. It's about an hour and a half south of Lisbon.